Hare Krishna, good morning, dear devotees.
Krishna.
Everybody is looking very, very energetic today. Dineshwar Satish Sutta Das has given me very long number of verses, 7 verses. So I told him to make sure that the prasadam reaches by 4 o'clock. It's a long number of verses to cover. In one sense, the very, very important chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam, arguably the most important chapter. We'll discuss why that is. We'll sing Jai Radha Madhava for a while and we'll start the class for the day. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunda Bihari Jaya 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 Gopi Chandra Jaya Givaradhari Jaya Givaradhari Jaya Gopi Chandra Jaya Givaradhari Jaya Givaradhari Jaya Gopi Chandra Jaya Givaradhari Jaya Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Shri Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Devale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanande Namaste Saraswati Nirvishesha Srimati Paschati Krishna Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padaya Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namo Gaurasi Om Brahmanya Devaya Brahmanya Jagadvitaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnana-shalakaya Chaturvedam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama. I'm so happy that the devotees here are reading, studying the Srimad Bhagavatam. The last time I came, we discussed a verse from the third chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and from then on, we have progressed to chapter number 5 of the Srimad Bhagavatam of the first canto. Just to revise and take us back into what we have already read. So the Srimad Bhagavatam actually starts with a couple of verses from the Vedanta Sutra. First three verses, even though it is the part of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is actually the introductory slokas from the Srimad Bhagavatam and not actually part of the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. So when we are discussing a topic of Sri Krishna, whom we all revere and love as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so there is a need for defining the absolute truth. So that is what was discussed in sloka number 1, where the absolute truth, Sri Krishna, is defined here and is called as Abhigna and Swarat. Swarat means he is completely independent. Abhigna means he is fully cognizant of all the activities that happens. Then, once the Supreme Personality of Goddess has been defined, then the sloka number 2 talks about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then the sloka number 3 is the invitation to all of us to understand the sweetness of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we all know that there were over 80,000 sages assembled in the banks of Naimisharanya. And the Srimad Bhagavatam opens with Srila Sutta Goswami and the sages who have assembled there. So, Srila Sutta Goswami is not the author of Srimad Bhagavatam. The author of the Srimad Bhagavatam was Sukadev Goswami, we all know, but still the Bhagavatam starts with Sutta Goswami. So Bhagavatam is a presentation of not chronological events, but events arranged sequentially so that dull heads like me can understand Srimad Bhagavatam, right? We are not as capable as the 80,000 sages who have assembled there. So for our easy study and understanding, it has been arranged sequentially rather than chronologically. So when the big yajna was going on to counteract the ill effects of the age of Kali, the 80,000 sages were extremely worried as to, in spite of such sincere performance of various types of yajna, the Kali Yuga is fast approaching. So when Srila Sutta Goswami came to the arena, they offered him this, seat of honor, and they asked him 6 important questions. So the first question was, what is the highest good and the ultimate good for all living entities? So that was the first question. And then the second question was, there are so many scriptures in the Sanatana Dharma. Explain to us what is the essence of all these scriptures. Yeah. So we don't have much time with all of us in Kali Yuga. Some of us live for 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, and if somebody attains the age of 100, then we are on the headlines of the newspaper that so and so person has reached 100 years of age. So we need to quickly understand what is the essence of all the scriptures. And then they were very curious to know the purpose of Lord Krishna's appearance in the material world. Yeah. So, in short, they actually wanted to hear about Krishna's appearance and also read and understand and listen to the glories of Krishna's Leelas in this material world. And then the fourth question was, who are the Purusha avatars of the Lord? And then the fifth question was, the who are the Leela avatars of the Lord? And then they were extremely worried. Lord Krishna's days in the material world are over and he will go back to the spiritual world. So therefore, where do we take the shelter from, and how do we get the shelter of Sanatana Dharma after Lord Krishna's disappearance from the material world? So this is what happened in chapter number 1. And in chapter number 2, um, the answers to these questions are being given by Srila Sutta Goswami. In fact, the entire Srimad Bhagavatam can be analyzed and understood as answer to these 6 basic questions which the sages of Naimisharanya had asked the Srila Sutta Goswami. So, the chapter number 2 fairly establishes that only bhakti is the marga or the route to understand the supreme absolute truth, and clearly defines the progress of our bhakti as well. Then, chapter number 3, very important chapter, and it explains how Sri Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So, what is the Paribhasa Sutra verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam? Three, yeah. Ete chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. So therefore it establishes in the 3rd chapter that the source of all incarnations is Sri Krishna, and that is why Srila Prabhupada has given the title for Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's so wonderful how Prabhupada is so expert even in English. In fact, I always say that even Hindi I have learned because of Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, growing up in Bombay, we speak Hindi in a very, very funny tone, and it is mixed with Marathi, sometimes Gujarati, and everything. I never imagined that I'll be able to give a class in Hindi. So that is also Srila Prabhupada's mercy, because his disciples have translated all our scriptures in Hindi as well. So, after establishing that Krishna is the source of all incarnations, and he is not an incarnation himself, he is the source of all incarnation in chapter number 3. So, chapter number 4, very, very significant chapter, because that's where the appearance of Narada Muni happens, right? So he wants to meet his disciple Srila Vyasadeva, and therefore he appears. And then there are 4 important questions that are asked in chapter number 4. What are they? When, where, and what was the reason for the compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So, why was Srimad Bhagavatam composed? Yeah. So, and then the heroes of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the original author, they wanted to know more information about Sukadev Goswami, who is the author of the Bhagavatam. It was taught to him by Srila Vyasadeva, but he is the original author of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then they also wanted to know the characteristics of the other hero of Srimad Bhagavatam, who is Parikshit Maharaj. If somebody has to speak, there has to be some people who will listen as well. So Parikshit Maharaj has maxed it in the Shravanam category, where he listened to Srimad Bhagavatam from the lips of Sukadev Goswami, fasting from anything, not even water, any prasadam, nothing else, as it's going to happen to us today, till 4 o'clock in the evening. And then, so they wanted to know about Parikshit Maharaj, the hero of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and why did he give up everything and just listen to Srimad Bhagavatam? So he was not fasting for a pure devotee, that is feasting on the words and the leelas of senior devotees and the pastimes of the Lord. So that is the best feast we all can have, right? So he was feasting on the leelas of the Supreme Personality of God. Now, these are all in the first four chapters, appears very relevant, appears very interesting, yeah, because nice things are being said, but the Guru's duty is what? To point out your defects. That also in Kali Yuga has to be done very carefully, because the disciples will completely move away. He said, what is this Guru Maharaj? I have done so much. And now you're pointing out defects in me. So, Vyasadeva here, we all know, is the literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? We all know that. And his Guru Maharaj is Srila Narada Muni. And when Narada Muni met Srila Vyasadeva, he was already in a perfected stage in his spiritual life. He has actually written and spoken about everything. The Vedas are the encyclopedia of all information that one may need to know. Yeah? If you want to rob a bank next door and build a temple, the technology of robbing and not getting caught by the police is there. If I give a piece of iron to Srila Vyasadeva, he has the technology to convert it to gold, right? So he has everything because Vedas are the encyclopedia of all information that ever exists in the material world. And just imagine how humble he can be in asking what are the defects in his compilation. So I went to New York to meet some devotee there and have some Ishta Goshti with him many years back. So that devotee is like one of the best finance guys in New York City. And then his Guru Maharaj used to come and they used to have a lot of programs with his Guru Maharaj. And the Guru is used to extending himself and speaking to every member of the audience, who come up with silly questions, serious questions, nonsense questions, everything. But he answers all these things very, very kindly. Okay? So by the end of all that program, he is really pakar. Sometimes we need to understand that gurus also uh, have, they also get tired and they get exhausted. Yeah, handling questions is uh, fun, no doubt, but then it also is very, very tiring and exhausting on the mind. So when he comes home, he used to tell his disciple, what about this account? What about that account? What are you doing about this? And he will give very nice answers because he's a financial expert himself in New York City. And then his Guru Maharaj is telling me, don't know anything about finance. You know. So if he was, giving in to ego, then there will be a break in the relationship between the Guru and the disciple. But he took it in the right spirit, and therefore he was able to serve his spiritual master nicely. So, so that's the background with which the fifth chapter begins, where Srila Vyasadeva is extremely despondent about his situation, even after compiling all the scriptures, okay, and has the technology for everything in the material world. Nothing else is left for him to know, right? So that was his perfection. He was already in a self satisfied state, yet he is feeling despondent. So at that time, the what are the things which Srila Vyasadeva has already done? He has compiled the Veda Vyas or Vyasadeva. He has compiled all the Puranas, all the Vedas. He has given the Mahabharata to all of us, which has got more than 100,000 verses. And then he is also written the Upanishads. He is the compiler of the Vedic literatures, and he has already written the Vedanta Sutras. Sutras means the tricks to understand the end instructions. Vedanta Sutras. So Vedanta Sutras are like the business codes. We have business codes in the material world. We don't say cost and freight. We say C&F or we say CIF when we say cost, insurance, and freight. So those are the commonly used business codes for quick understanding. So the Vedanta Sutras are like the codes of Vedic language. So he has already written that as well. So, but what is the Vedanta Sutra? The often quoted and heard sloka, which is often misunderstood as well, is Om Atato Brahma Jigyasa. That is the first sloka of the Vedanta Sutra. Now, after this, what is Atato Brahma Jigyasa? It means Brahma means it is the supreme absolute truth. Now, understand what is the supreme absolute truth and do jigyasa on it, which means inquire into the supreme absolute truth. Now, after all this means what? After practicing karma kandiya activities, you have enjoyed material life to the maximum and you've enjoyed all the luxuries that the material world has got to offer, and yet you're now confused. Yeah, as to why happiness seems to be eluding you. So you want to find out the original source for everything. Yeah. So that is what the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam starts with, which is Janmadhyasya Yataha. So it starts with that 111, which is also the second sloka of the Vedanta Sutra. So, where from everything emanates. So, an inquiry should start, and that is what is Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Not realizing that we are Brahman. Yeah. So, that is a wrong understanding. We want to find out the original source and we want to find out who is the supreme cause of everything, who is the supreme absolute truth. So, um, where from everything emanates. There is happiness, there is distress, there is knowledge, and there is ignorance. Where from all these things emanate. So, what does the Bhagavad Gita tell us? 10th chapter, 8th sloka. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate ithi matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samandita. So what does that mean? Aham sarvasya prabhuvo. Everything emanates from me. So knowledge and ignorance, everything emanates from me. And aham sarvasya prabhuvo mata sarvam pravartate. Everything comes from me. He reinstates that. And then the learned just do what? Iti matva bhajante mam. Yeah, that is, they do bhajan and kirtan of my holy name and engage themselves in my worship. And that is what the learned people do with great attention and with all their hearts. Okay, that is what 10.8 does, tells us from the Bhagavad Gita. And then what does 15.15 say? Sarvasya Chaham Vidhi Sannivisho Mataha Sarvam Mataha Smriti Jnanam Apohanancha Vedescha Sarvai Ahameva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Chaham. So Sarvasya Chaham Riddhi Sannivishto. Krishna resides in everyone's heart, right? And what does he do? Sarvasya Chaham Vriddhi Sannivishto. And he gives us Mataha, Jnanam, no, Mataha, what is the first word? Smriti, remembrance, Jnanam, knowledge, and Apohanam, forgetfulness, also comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is sometimes good because we don't want to remember what we were in our past lifetime. Maybe we were a pig, we were a horse. Of course, it is said that we could have been a tiger to be born in the mode of passion, or we could have been a cow to be born in the mode of sattva gun, and we could have been what else? Ignorance. Ignorance may be monkey, yeah? In the ignorance mode before we became human beings. So we don't want to be remembering that we were a monkey and we were chased all around by people and beaten with sticks. That's not a good memory to have. So forgetfulness is also the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because of misuse of the material nature, we have forgotten our constitutional position in the material world, which is Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Nitya Krishna Das. Okay, so this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said. And we wanted to forget Krishna. It's not that Krishna wanted us to forget him. We wanted to forget Krishna. We became inimical to Krishna. We became, captured by desires of sense gratification, and we are struck by material energy or the illusory energy of the Lord uh, to come back to proper consciousness, and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Parampara, we are somewhere getting there, right? At least we know that we are in the right path, though we may not have perfected everything. So we are slowly but surely on the path of not trying to imitate and enjoy like Krishna. Yeah, we don't want to become Hiranyakashipu. The moment Prahlad Maharaj mentions Krishna or Narayana, Hiranyakashipu becomes very, very angry. Yeah? So we don't want to be like that. So we want to understand Jivera Swarupa by Nitya Krishna Das. That we are the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So this is a little bit of a background, and we will now read verse number 1. Yeah. Sutavacha
Sutavaच
Atha Tam Sukamasina
Atatam Sukamasina
Upasinam Chravaha Chravaha
Upasinam Pragachamaha
Deva Rishi Praha Viprarsim
Devarishi Prama Viprasim
Vinapani Smayan Niva.
Vinapani Smayam Iva
Srila Sutta Goswami said, yeah, you can repeat. Sutta Goswami said,
Goswami said,
thus the sage among the demigods, the sage among the gods, Narada,
thus the sage amongst the gods Narada,
comfortably seated
comfortably seated
and apparently smiling,
and apparently smiling,
addressed the rishi among the Brahmanas Veda Vyasa.
addressed the Rishi amongst the Brahmanas Vedavyasas.
Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Narada was smiling because he well knew the great sage Veda Vyas and the cause of his disappointment. As he will explain gradually, Vyasadev's disappointment was due to insufficiency in presenting the signs of devotional service. Narada knew the defect, and it was confirmed by the position of Vyasadeva. Okay. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, as we described, is the right explanation and explains the source with his Janmat Yasya Yataha. So it is called as the Brahma Sutram or the Vedanta Sutra, and Srimad Bhagavatam is like the right commentary of the Vedas or Vedanta Sutra explained by the author himself. So, Narada, here we understand that he is the spiritual master and could understand what Vyasadeva is seeking. Yeah, Vyasa received him and gave him the position of respect and seated him appropriately. Narada seated comfortably, and what was he doing? Veena Pani. Veena Pani Smayan Iva. So he was playing on his Veena, which is the favorite pastime of Narada Muni. And it's not just an ordinary pastime, it's a very transcendental pastime because Veena Pani is actually the same as the Saraswati, who is the goddess of learning, right? And there are Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami explains that there are two types of knowledge, and that is avidya and vidya. So avidya is all about karma kandic activities where we work hard so that we can enjoy the senses better and better. But the real knowledge is actually Brahma Vidya. Yeah. So we have to work hard. The materialists work hard to become master, right? So devotees also have to work very hard to become what? Servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't want to be bosses. So that life's aim can be achieved, which is Jivara Swarupa, right? Nitya Krishna Das. There is no option but to serve if we are in the material world. Either we serve Krishna or we serve Maya. Service is always there, right? When you go back tomorrow to office, you have to serve your boss, right? There is no other option but to serve your boss. Yeah. And then the wives, if they are housewives, then they have to serve their husbands, serve their children, serve everybody else. Yeah. Cooking, cleaning, and so. But if we do the same cleaning and cooking for Krishna, no doubt the result is that we are tired, but we are creating spiritual assets in our heart, right? So Vyasdev also worked very hard here, wrote unlimited books, yet he was not happy. What is that? How is it possible? So he was tired and confused, did not accumulate spiritual assets in his own admission. It's even very difficult to hear this. How can we say that Srila Vyasdev did not attain spiritual assets in spite of composing so many literatures? Arjuna's position in the Bhagavad Gita is also similar. He was a military man before, but the earlier purpose was to satisfy his family members, and instead of acquiring the kingdom for his sense gratification, he became a military man for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What's that verse from the 8th chapter? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. So that's like a favorite sloka of mine, which is propagating the change of consciousness, right? Arjuna was fighting the battle, and so was Duryodhana. But Arjuna now is going to fight the war. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu at all times. Mam anusmara yudhyacha. Remember me and fight this battle, and therefore you change your consciousness and you get the highest profit. Yeah. So we all want bank accounts which gives higher rates of interest and returns, right? So the highest profit is trying and doing service by Mam Anusmara concept. Okay. So we move on to sloka number 2. Narada Uvacha
नारदोवाच
Parasarya Mahabhaga
पराशर्य महाभागा
भवतः कच्चिदात्मना
भवतः कश्चिदात्मना
परितुष्यति शरीरा
परितुष्यति शरीरा
आत्ममानस एव वा.
आत्ममानस एव वा.
Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parashar Muni, Narada inquired, "Are you satisfied by identifying with the body and mind as objects of self-realization?" Okay. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, this was a hint by Narada to Vyasadeva regarding the cause of his despondency. Vyasadeva is the descendant of Parashar Muni, a greatly powerful sage, had the privilege of having a great parentage which should not have given Vyasadeva cause for despondency at all. Being a great son of a great father, he should not have identified the self with the body or the mind. Ordinary men with a poor fund of knowledge can identify the body as self or the mind as self, but Vyasadeva should not have done so. One cannot be cheerful by nature unless one is factually seated in self realization, which is transcendental to the body and the mind. So we all understand that Srila Vyasadeva had a great parentage. He was son of Parashar Muni. So on one side, he was a great son of a great father, but still he is identified with the mind or the body, and spiritual realization is transcendental to the body and mind, right? So that is slowly he is revealing the defects of his presentation. About 98% or 99%, some scholar was telling me, in the Srimad, in all the Vedas, are to do with sense gratification. And whatever little is there on the spiritual realization is hidden between all these contents, that people in Kali Yuga are not able to decode this information and get to what really the Vedas wants to tell us, right? What was that sloka which we quoted, 15:15? Sarvasya chaham vidhi sannivishto mataha sarvam pravartate. Um, yes, was that Mataji? Mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarvair ahameva vedyo. From all the Vedas, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand me, Krishna says. Vedescha sarvair ahameva vedyo. And then he makes a very important statement. He is Vedanta Krit and Vedavid eva chaham. So he is Vedanta Krit, he is the compiler of the Vedas. He might have compiled, but maybe he doesn't know about the Vedas. He just compiled it. No. He says Vedanta Krit, Veda Vid. He is also the knower of the Vedas. So Krishna clarifies in this sloka, right? So the real purpose is Vedescha Sarvai Ahameva Vedyo, which is difficult to decode from all the study of Vedas with our very unintelligent brain in Kali Yuga, right? Nobody escapes this, right? Prayana Alpayushaha Sabya Kalavasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhakya is Upatita. So we are all Manda, spiritually lazy, Manda Bhakya, we are very, very unlucky. That's the very reason the sages wanted an urgent answer to the 6 questions which they addressed in the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So, there's nothing wrong to admit that we are Manda and Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya. Yes, we are quarrelsome, right? There is no doubt about it. There are quarrels among devotees also, right? So it is normal to be having those qualities because that is what is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. So we are on our path getting out of this, right? So you are Parasarya, he says, and you are also Mahabhaga, son of Parashar Muni. So he was also not just the son of Parashar Muni. Who was his mother? Satyavati. Okay. And what was the profession of Satyavati? She was a fisher woman. Yeah. So in one sense, if you see from the mother's side, he is a Shudra or worse than a Shudra, right? Srila Vyasadeva. So we are remembered by the work we do. That defines whether we are a Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, or Shudra, and not remembered because of our parentage alone. But here, having an illustrious father like Parashar Muni is greatly advantageous because he has received spiritual training right from the beginning of his lifetime, right? So, therefore, he is Mahabhaga. You are very, very fortunate. But unfortunately, in all your composition, you have been identifying yourself with the material body and the mind. You compiled so many books on the concepts of life. I am body, I am mind, I am intelligence, but Atma is above mind, intelligence, and the body, right? So you are great, your father is great, you are very learned. I agree to that, and I compliment you on that. But the compilation that you have done thus far is based on the body and on the mind. Therefore, you cannot get happiness. We'll move on to sloka number 3. जिज्ञासितुं सुसम्पन्नम्
जिज्ञासितं सुसम्पन्नम्
अपि मे महत् अद्भुतम्
अमीते महदद्भुतम्
कृतवान् भारतं यस्त्वं
कृतवान् भारतं यस्त्वम्
सर्वार्थ परिभ्रमितम्.
सर्वार्थपरिभ्रमितम्.
Your inquiries were full and your studies were also well fulfilled. And there is no doubt that you have prepared a great and wonderful text, the Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences elaborately explained. Right? The despondency of Vyasadeva was certainly not due to a lack of sufficient knowledge, because as a student he has fully inquired about the Vedic literatures, as a result of which Mahabharata is compiled and the full explanation with the full explanation of the Vedas. Okay, so he's complimenting his disciple here. After the Mahabharata war was over, Kritavan Bharatam, history of India was compiled, history of the entire planet itself was compiled. And then he also talks about in this verse Sarvartha. What is Sarvartha? Which are the Artha means interest, right? And as living beings on the material planet, we have four kinds of interests. Okay, what are they? Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So human beings are basically interested in religiosity, which is the aspect of dharma. Artha means economic development, right? Dharma, Artha, Kama. Kama is nice arrangement for sense gratification. When I go to what is that? Which center is that? It is fully air conditioned. Yeah, Sarjapur, very nice atmosphere. And the moment you go on in summer, ACs are switched on and you feel very comfortable. Yeah. So we prepare a lot of things for our peaceful sense gratification and extended sense gratification. The tilak when you go in is just like this, and when you get out, it's not moved 1 millimeter this side or that side. Very comfortable, very cool atmosphere. And I secretly tell, just switch on this AC also. So we all have this tendency to, make nice arrangement for fulfillment of our material requirements and sense gratification. So all these things I'm not saying are not important. When dharma, artha, and kama are fairly in place, without trying to extend it too much, then we focus on moksha, which is liberation from the material bondage. So these are the Chatur Varga Purushartha, interests of a living entity. But even moksha, that is not the final requirement of a human being. So it's not just that the life's purpose is moksha and then we get liberated and merge into the source of the existence. That's not fun, right? Yeah. If the concept of merging was ever true, then I always say I would like to resign from spiritual life. It's so boring, you just merged into some existence and then you have nothing to do, you know. There's a completely peaceful atmosphere. How long can you tolerate that? It's very, very tough. The concept of liberation is very boring, right? So realization of the absolute is even higher than just mukti. So that's why in the second sloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, what is mentioned? Dharma projita kaitavo atra paramo nirmatsaranam sata. So the recommendation is similar to where Bhagavad Gita ended. Bhagavad Gita ended with Sarva Dharman Parityacha Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papepyo Mokshayashyami Masuchaha. He explained Karma Yoga to us, Sri Krishna. Then he explained within the gamut of the first six chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, he explained Dhyana Yoga to us, and then he explained Jnana Yoga to us, and then he explained Bhakti Yoga, and gave us the instructions that Bhakti Yoga is the best Bhakti Amam Abhijanati. After telling all these things, he says, just give up all these things, Sarvadharman Parityacha, Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja, Aham Tuam Sarva Papebhyo, Mokshayashyami Masuchara. So, what are the final instructions of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita? Is the first instruction of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is why it is called as the postgraduate study in spiritual life, right? Because it starts with Dharma Projita Kaitavo Atra Paramo Nirmat Saranam Satam. Devotees are advised, Satam means devotees, are advised for Dharma Projita. Just give up all these varieties of religiosity, yeah, because they all propound Kaitavo, cheating religion is being promoted. Okay, so don't tell this to anybody on the street. Okay, we should package our preaching very nicely. Okay, always remember that. This is why ISKCON wallas are being kept aside by many other places. We had gone for a program, and then in the last minute they asked us to dress in traditional clothes. Okay, and what is the name of that speaker? Very nicely he spoke about Chidambara Rahasya. He's a very popular speaker. Okay, so all kinds of people will come and said, okay, I'll wear tilak or no. Moment you wear a tilak, sometimes you get sidelined by people of the other thing. So the tilak is a remembrance of the Lord for us and people who see us. Instead, we are seen as not secular in our approach. So even the preaching has to be packaged very nicely, you know. So that's most important. So here Dharma Projita is being advised, and that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the lines of Dharma Projita, Kaitavo, yeah, that is all the cheating religions to be completely taken out. He says, Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishwari, bhavatat bhaktir ahaituki vai. So I do not want any wealth, I do not want any followers, and I don't want beautiful women, and uh, you know I don't want all these flowery languages which explain the benefits of fruitive activities. Birth of the birth, what do I desire? Causeless devotional service. Yeah. And the causeless devotional service can be attained if we follow the nectar of devotion, Adav Guru Ashrayam, to take shelter of the Guru. Yeah, if we take a shelter of a proper guru, then we get Shreya Uttamam knowledge, Jnanam Shreya Uttamam. That is the topmost knowledge which lifts us beyond the darkness of material existence and attain the highest perfection of life. Yeah. So he acknowledges that you are Susampannam, Vyasadev. You are very well versed in all the scriptures. There is no doubt, but still you have not done the main activity. What else did? What is our responsibility to disseminate proper knowledge? So Prabhupada has given us all the perfect knowledge. There is nothing left for Prabhupada to tell us. Recently I was given by some university in Delaware in US. They called me to. This is a honorary doctorate in Vedic sciences. Okay, so that it's like so many people through our spiritual life now nobody talks to us on this subject. They say you have to listen to everybody so that you have a very well-rounded knowledge. You are reading only Prabhupada. Now they don't tell us that, right? Because they know that we are monkeys. And we will not read anything other than Srila Prabhupada's books. So when they conferred the doctorate on me for Vedic sciences, that's not an entry into a Golok Dham by itself, the doctorate. Yeah. But I got a little emotional. I was thinking that this is the greatest tribute to Srila Prabhupada because they've judged me from my YouTube videos, this, that, what I've done in Dubai, what I've done in other places. So, and then they had two interviews with me on the phone. So, based on the work they've done and the service to society, what they are looking for, they gave the doctorate in Vedic sciences, right? So that's not a tribute or a pat on the back for me. It was a pat on the back and a tribute for Srila Prabhupada because we just remained stuck to reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and through the eye of his books, we have understood the scriptures as we have to understand. So it was an acknowledgement that the knowledge of Srila Prabhupada can give all perfection to us. Yeah. So, so, so what is Susampannam? Real Susampannam is well versed, is the meaning. But what is that well versed? It is through Shravanam and Kirtanam. We hear, assimilate, and contribute to the world. Okay? That's the goal Srila Prabhupada has given us. And what does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says? Bharata Bhumile Haila Manushya Janma Yara Janma Sartaka Kari. That's first responsibility. Janma Sartaka Kari Kara Para Upakara. So first is you make your life successful. Janma Sartaka Kari. Then you have to do Kara Para Upakara. Do service to the society after making your life successful. Okay. Birth in the land of India make your life successful and then work for the benefit of all other people. Okay. We go on to sloka number 4 to take about another 15 minutes. Don't worry. I want to enjoy my senses also, therefore I also feel hungry, so I want prasadam quickly. Okay. Jignasitam aditam cha
Jignasitam adhitam cha
brahma yat tat सनातनम
ब्रह्म यत्तत् सनातनम्
तथापि सोऽसि आत्मानाम्
तदापि शोचसि आत्मानाम्
अकृतार्थ इव प्रभो.
अकृतार्थमिव प्रभो.
You have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman as well as the knowledge derived therefrom. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this, thinking that you are undone, my dear Prabhu? Yeah. So, Prabhu. So, Prabhu came straight from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, so we all call each other Prabhus, right? So that came to us from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where the greatest of great gurus, Devarishi Narada, is calling his disciple Vyasadev as Prabhuji. So the amount of deep respect, yeah, here for us sometimes Prabhuji becomes sort of an exposure of humility from within. Will think, what is this guy doing? You know. So this is genuine respect that a spiritual master has for the disciple and calls him Prabhu. So the Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra um, compiled by Srila Vyasadeva is full deliberation of the impersonal absolute feature, and it is accepted as the most exalted philosophical exposition in the world. It covers the subject of eternity, and the methods are scholarly. So, there cannot be any doubt about the transcendental scholarship of Vyasadeva. Why should he lament, right? So, here again we come back to Athatva Brahma Jigyasa. We should be inquisitive to know about the Supreme Absolute Truth. And from the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a sloka Tasmat Gurum Prapadyeta Jignasu Shreya Uttamam. Right? Shabde Pare Cha Nishnatham Brahmani Upas Upasam Ashrayam. So seek a guru, take shelter, and take shelter of a bona fide, guru from one of the four authorized paramparas, and you realize the conclusion of all the scriptures. So Guru's qualities are also given here, where he has to be fixed in detachment from all material affairs. So, this human life is not meant for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's not the real purpose. So, Narada says that you have nicely inquired. Your knowledge is wonderful, Adbhuta, and it is also Sanatana, it is eternal. Yeah. Still, Tatapi Sochasi Atmanam, still you're so morose. And then he calls him Prabhu, yeah, addressing disciple with great amount of respect. So when he calls somebody as Prabhu from the internal, you should accept him as your master. Prabhu means master, right? So it should come from the heart, yeah. A deep amount of respect among devotees is absolutely important. So, in the next verse, what does he say? Vyasavacha
व्यासोवाच
asti eva me sarvamidam tvayoktam
त्वयोक्तम्
tatapi natma
तथापि
परितुष्यते me
परितुष्यते मे
तन्मूलम अव्यक्तम अगाध bodham
तन्मूलम् अव्यक्तम् अगाधबोधम्
पृच्छामहे त्वात्म भाव भवात्मभूतम्.
पृच्छामहे त्वात्मभावभूतम्
Srila Vyasadeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. Okay? I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction, for you are the man of unlimited knowledge, due to your being the offspring of one of Brahma, of who is self-born, without mundane father and mother. So again, the parentage of Narada Muni is being discussed here, where you are son of Brahma, and Brahma is, in one sense, he is the greatest scholar, knowledge of, or has all the knowledge of the Vedas, right? In the material world, there's nobody who's more scholarly than Brahmaji. Yeah, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. That's how he got his knowledge. He got his knowledge implanted into his heart, not that he had a bookshelf like we all have at our homes. So he just meditated, and through the power of his meditation, the entire Vedic knowledge was actually implanted into his heart, right? So he is asking here, what's that word used in the tan moolam avyaktam? What is the mula or the root cause that of my dissatisfaction? Yeah, you are son of Brahma, and son of who is again the son of the Lord Narayana, because Brahma was born from Garbhodakshai Vishnu, right? So that makes him the son of the Supreme Lord. So, so you are fully qualified to give me the reason for your dissatisfaction and despondency. We move on straight to the translation of verse number 6, which is, my Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Okay, I remembered yesterday's speaker, Vinay Varanasi, as the he's a very, very popular speaker. Of course, he speaks according to me to the, uh, you know, to the likes and dislikes of the audience sometimes. So yesterday he was very nicely explaining the glories of Lord Shiva and his two bhaktas, and how Lord Shiva was, by power of their devotion to Lord Shiva, how they were made. Lord Shiva was forced to come to Chidambaram to perform the dance all the way from north of India, where he originally lives. By the power of the devotion, they made the Lord appear there and show them the dance of Lord Shiva and satisfied their desires. So Chidambaram, he was explaining how it is one of the very, very important kshetras. Okay, so this is like. Here he's talking about Vyasadev is talking about Narada Muni, that Narada Muni has got 100% service to the Lord, and which is the real emblem of service, full practice, perfection in mystic power. So that is Narada's, um, qualification. The other qualification which is mentioned is he is the son of Purusha Purana, the oldest being, who is Shashwatam Purusha Purana, right? That is, he is the son of the Supreme Lord himself. So, and he is also Para, which means transcendental. Yeah, Paravara. Avara is material or inferior energy, and Para is the person who is transcendental to the material energy. Okay, so, and his father, Vishnu, is Manasaiva Vishwam, by just his mind. What is that Christian quotation? Let there be creation, right? Yes, just by his manasa or his thought process, he creates everything. And you're the son of such a person. Therefore, You must have all the knowledge that anybody can ever have. So you are fully qualified to tell me what is the cause of my despondency. Going on to 7. Again, we'll read the translation. Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all pervasive super soul. Please, therefore, find out the deficiency uh, in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulation and vows. Okay, so purport, small purport, transcendental realization, pious activities, worshipping the deities, charity, mercifulness, non-violence, and studying the scriptures under strict regulation are always helpful, right? So he acknowledges, Srila Vyasadeva, that you are devotee of personality of Godhead. You are a recognized devotee. Please, I beg you to find my defect. So Vyasadeva is surrendering to Narada Muni and wanting to know the cause of his despondency. It's similar to what happened to Arjuna. After listening to him for a short time, then he finally realizes that he is out of answers for his peculiar situation, even though in chapter 1 he seems to very logically explain as to why he doesn't want to fight the battle. But after that, he realizes. What does he realize? 2.7 Karpanya dosho pahata swabhavaha pritchami tvam dharma sammuga chetaha yat shreyaha shyam nishchidam bruhi tanme shishya asteham sadimam tvam prapannam. Says, I am full of karpanya dosha, material faults I have. So, and I realize that there is a need to take, have a guru, right? And therefore he says, Shishyasteham sadimam tvam prapannam. I surrender to you, O Lord Krishna. Please make me your Shishya. So, similar situation in which um, Vyasadeva is in, and he requests Narada Muni to instruct him. Um, and then, of course, it's like a confession of his defect with an intent to reform himself. So we have Sunday confessions also, right? So confession is a very good thing, but that can be become bad if you confess what you have done and then do not reform after that. That is a bigger sin, actually. So, Jagai and Madai were accepted in the terrible condition that they were in, very sinful condition, but with a condition. They were told no more sinful activities because recommitting that sin is the greatest sin, and in fact, it is like a shameless behavior, right? Is it too much to say that? So, you just say that I won't do this again, please excuse me. And with the grace of that person, you just get excused and go back and commit the same sins. That's like a shameless behavior, right? Unintentional, unintentional committing of sin, the God is, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is graceful enough to accept. What does Bhagavad Gita 9:30 say? Api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito isa. Api chet suduracharo. You might have committed some abominable activities, but without really intending to. But if you have bhajate mam ananya bhak, engaged in devotional service, then Sadhureva Samantavya, the Lord considers you with his grace as a sadhu or a devotee because samyak vyavasoto hisa, because you are properly situated in serving him with determination. Willful, sinful activity, with you expect it can be neutralized by chanting is one of the offenses to the holy name. That is a strict no. Okay, so you ignite the fire, then you pour water on the fire. Yeah, then again you ignite another fire, you throw water on the fire. It's a waste of time. In fact, you accrue more sin by that kind of chanting, right? Okay, so we have completed, and now this Prabhu is saying that everything, you're always pointing out defects. What is this? So we should know and read one more sloka and going beyond this thing. So he says, Shri Narada Uvacha
Shri Narada Uvacha
Bhavatanudita Prayam
Bhavatanudita Prayam
Yasho Bhagavato Amalam
Yasho Bhagavato Amaram
Yenai Vasu Vasau Natushyeta
Yenaivasav Natushyeta
Manye Tattarshanam Kilam.
Manye Darshanam Kilam.
So Sri Narada said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless. So he has pointed out the defects to the perfected sage Vyasadev, and Vyasadev does not misunderstand this. That's the greatness of Srila Vyasadev, who is the most knowledgeable person, literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Goddess is setting a standard for all of us. Not to be upset if somebody points out our defects. Consider what the person has said, and if there is a fault, then try to correct ourselves. So you have compiled so many scriptures, he says, the Vedas, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, and everything, and but you have not done one thing, which is the incessant glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that is what Srimad Bhagavatam is from the verse 1 to the 18,000th verse. It is incessant glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. So read Srimad Bhagavatam, perfect your life. And in this chapter, as we go along, it Narada reveals the importance of describing Lord Krishna's pastimes. He also reveals his past life, and he gives various instruction and advice for Srila Vyasadeva, which are all very, very important instructions to all of us. Hare Krishna. So relish this chapter and find out what are our defects and try to cover them and make life perfect with the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, our Guru Parampara, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, any questions?